Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Outlaws and Gunslingers with Bang and Dang. And another week, another episode this week. Pretty significant one, I would say, as we're reliving the 30-year anniversary of one of the most, corrupt, or one of the... one of the most...
It was another terrible performance by the FBI. Let's put it that way.
One of the first ones in terms of popular 90s sieges. Ruby Ridge siege. 30 years ago. 30 years, I believe 2 days ago. When this episode comes out, it'll be 2 days before this episode comes out that this happened. If people already didn't know how corrupt not only the FBI, but the CIA, the ATF, and all those guys, dude, there was so many bureaus of whatever you want to call them involved in this thing.
Terrible.
And some shit went down. Some innocent people got killed to boot. After that, all over some guns, dude. All over a bench warrant for guns.
Yep.
And this probably was one of the first things in the 90s. And this was happening right after the LA riots. So, I mean, there's so much shit going on in 1992. OJ's murdering people and
Right.
a lot of stuff going on in 1992. Ruby Ridge.
What else was going on?
92? I mean, you got the peak of the gang wars and shit. And
What show did we just do a couple days ago?
the dude that killed the massacre on the train. That was in like 93 or something, right?
So we're around that time.
Yeah, early 90s were some fucked up times in the US of A in terms of...
All the 90s, really.
Yeah. Well, every year the United States been in existence, let's put it that way.
80s wasn't that bad.
Oh, what? Actually, not compared to the 70s. Everybody knows you never wanted to go on a subway in New York in the 70s. You're liable to get raped, killed.
Serial killers
both.
doing their thing in the 70s.
Right. 60s, 70s, yeah. Hell of a time. There wasn't a good decade in America. Maybe
No.
50s. What happened in the 50s? Besides racism.
Nothing. It was a quiet time. No war.
Well, Korean War.
Oh, Korean War. That's right.
Yeah, not a good decade. There's not been a good decade. Maybe
40s?
Maybe early 1900s.
40s might have been decent.
It was 5 years of that was World War II.
Yeah. It's always a war.
Always. Never going to escape that. Ruby Ridge, 7-day or 11-day siege, my bad, in Boundary County, Idaho, which is near Naples, begins on August 21st when deputies of the United States Marshals Services, so you got the United States Marshals, they try to initiate action to apprehend and arrest Randy Weaver under a bench warrant after his failure to appear on firearms charges. I mean, come on.
Why did he fail to appear, though? He could have avoided it all if he just would have went.
Well, we'll see. He refused to surrender, and members of his immediate family and family friend, Kevin Harris, resisted as well. The hostage rescue team, why hostage? Nobody's hostage,
Right.
Of the FBI became involved as the siege developed. And once those three letters become involved, some shit's about to go down that's not ethical at the very least.
It's crazy stuff going on here, boys. Even gets wilder. Ruby Ridge is the southernmost of four ridges that extend east of the Bottleneck Roman Nose mountain range toward the Kootenai River. Caribou Ridge lies north of it, and the area between them drains
Damn,
into
I didn't know we were doing a fucking Battles of the American Civil War.
Right. And the area between them drains into Ruby Creek. Weaver insisted that his cabin located north of the creek was on Caribou Ridge, and that Ruby Ridge was a press invention.
Well, of course.
Right.
I don't think he called it Ruby Ridge.
They put in Ruby Creek and Caribou Ridge.
Right.
And they were like,
oh, there's a Ruby and a Ridge. Two R's. Mm-hmm. That's the media for you. Both ridge names were in use before the Weavers moved to the area, though.
oh, okay.
There was Caribou Ridge. Oh, so Ruby Ridge is a thing then. But his was Caribou Ridge, though,
Right.
so they just did it Ruby Ridge just because. Both of the ridge names were in use before the Weavers moved to the area, as in a Forest Service report on the 1967 Sundance Fire. Okay, so there must have been a fire around there by the Ruby Ridge area. The standoff occurred approximately 10 miles from the nearest incorporated city of Bonners Ferry and approximately 30 miles south of the border with Canada. Wow, they were just right there, huh?
Randy Weaver, former Iowa factory worker. United States Army Green Beret.
Oh, see, and these guys tried to take him out, and he's a Green Beret, dude.
Right. Moved with his wife and 4 children to northern Idaho during the 1980s so they could homeschool his children and escape what he and his wife Vicky saw as a corrupted world. Man, this guy's seen that shit in the 1980s.
All right.
1978, Vicky, the religious leader of the family, began to have recurrent dreams of living on a mountaintop and believed that the apocalypse was imminent.
Oh, so cookie bitch.
Ooh, wow, yeah.
After
The world's going to end tomorrow.
Right.
Well, maybe not tomorrow.
Let's sell all of our stuff. Yeah. And maybe we'll board the Haley Bop comet.
All right.
After the birth of their son, we'll have those guys, don't worry. After the birth of their son, Samuel, the Weavers began selling their belongings. Oh, shit.
Oh, no.
I didn't even know it. And visited the Amish to learn how to live without electricity. Well, that'd be one people you want to learn, but you got to get those, like the ones in Erie, Pennsylvania. Those are the Amish, not the ones that are around here. You like,
There's a couple of them around
they
here.
still drive Ford F-250s and shit.
There's a couple of those small communities that don't.
And yeah, well, all the Amish I see they're literally driving F-250s going to Culver's. Serious. They bought 20 acres of land on Ruby Ridge in 1983 and began building a cabin. I mean, 20 acres, and that's all you do is build a cabin, but whatever. Property was in Boundary County on a hillside on Ruby Creek opposite Caribou Ridge, northwest of nearby Naples. In 84, Weaver and his neighbor Terry Kinnison had a dispute over a $3,000 land deal.
I mean, who cares? 20 acres. How many more do you need?
Right. $3,000. That was probably a half acre, maybe.
Back then, it was probably a couple acres.
Yeah.
Kinnison lost the ensuing lawsuit, was ordered to pay Weaver an additional $2,100 in court
Take that,
costs
Kinnison.
and damages. Kinnison wrote letters to the Federal Bureau,
Oh.
the Secret Service, and the county sheriff in which he alleged that Weaver had threatened to kill Pope John Paul II, President Ronald Reagan, and Idaho Governor John V. Evans.
I bet he did.
Man,
All
what
of them.
What does this dude have against Reagan?
All of them.
I can understand Pope John Paul. But
Probably Governor John B. Evans, too.
Right.
January 85, the FBI and Secret Service launched an investigation into allegations that Weaver had made threats against Reagan and other government and law enforcement officials. February 12th, Weaver and his wife were interviewed by 2 FBI agents, 2 Secret Service agents, and the Boundary County Sheriff and his chief investigator.
Oh, jeez. Over hearsay.
Right. The Secret Service had been told that Weaver was a member of the Aryan Nations and that he had a large weapons cache at his residence.
Oh, jeez.
Weaver denied these allegations, and the government filed no charges. Okay, we'll leave it at that then. How about that? On 3 or 4 occasions, the Weavers had attended Aryan Nations meetings at Hayden Lake.
Uh-oh.
Well, kind of threw that one off of there, huh? Where there was a compound for government resistors and white supremacists / separatists.
I don't know if they're really.
Yeah, well, you probably shouldn't be associating yourself with those guys if you're already under investigation.
Right.
Lay low, dude.
The investigator noted that Weaver associated with Frank Kumnick, who was known to associate with members of the Aryan Nations. Weaver told the investigators that neither he nor Kumnick was a member of that group. But he stated that Kumnick was associated with the Covenant, the sword, and the arm of the Lord.
Yeah, that's a nice little white supremacy group passing themselves off as the Lord told us to do this.
Right, that's where people, kooky Christians.
Yeah.
February 18th, nope, scratch that. February 28th, Randy and Vicky Weaver filed an affidavit with the county courthouse alleging that their personal enemies were plotting to provoke the FBI into attacking and killing the Weaver family. Dang, these guys already knew.
May 6th, Weaver sent President Reagan a letter claiming that their enemies may have sent Reagan a threatening letter under a forged signature. No evidence of such letter surfaced, but in 92, the prosecutor cited the 85 letter as an overt act of the Weaver family conspiracy against the federal government. Of course they did.
No. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms first became aware of Weaver in July of 1986 when he was introduced to a confidential ATF informant at a meeting at the World Aryans Congress. The informant portrayed himself as a weapons dealer working with motorcycle gangs. Weaver had been invited to the meeting by Kumnick, the original target of the ATF investigation. Oh, the original. So if he would just stay low, man, this guy keeps on going to these stupid meetings. It was Weaver's first time at this Congress. Over the next 3 years, Weaver and the informant met several times. In July 1989, Weaver invited the informant to his home to discuss forming a group to fight the Zionist organized government, referring to The U.S. government.
The U.S. government.
The Zionist? I think it's Zionist.
Oh, in October of 89, the ATF claimed that Weaver sold the informant two sawed-off shotguns with the overall length of the gun shorter than the limit set by federal law. Dude, you're going to go after somebody for sawed-off shotguns. In November of 89, Weaver accused the ATF informant of being a spy for the police. Pretty much was. Weaver later wrote that he'd been warned by somebody named Rico V. The informant's handler, Herb Byerly, ordered him to have no further contact with Weaver. Eventually, FBI informant Rico Valentino outed the ATF informant to Aryan Nation Security.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, so this dude's an FBI informant. Why is he outing him, though? Because he knows he's about to go to jail. You don't become an informant if you're a straight guy, first of all.
Right.
Huh. What's that all
So you got
about?
FBI informants out in the ATF informants. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Look at
FBI.
We already know that agencies
Jeez,
don't like each other. So
Gee, and the FBI are doing all kinds of dirty stuff. Wow. June 1990. Byerly attempted to use the sawed-off shotgun charge as a leverage to get Weaver to act as an informant for his investigation into Aryan nations.
Weaver? You know Weaver ain't doing that.
Weaver refused to become a snitch, and the ATF filed the gun charges in June 1990.
Yeah.
The ATF alleged that Weaver was a bank robber with criminal convictions. Those claims were false. At that time, Weaver had no criminal record. The 1995 state investigation found Weaver was not a suspect in any bank robbery.
Oh, no shit. They could have just looked that up right there.
There they go. My goodness.
Given a reason, a false reason to go after this guy. That's fucked, dude.
Hey, we didn't take that guy's passports.
Right.
He can come get his passports at like 2 o'clock today. A federal grand jury indicted Weaver in December 1990 for making and possessing, but not for selling, illegal weapons in October 1989.
Oh, jeez. The ATF concluded it would be too
So
dangerous.
all they're going to do is charge him with having the sawed-offs.
and making one,
Right.
Wow.
And not selling it.
even though he sold it, which
Wow.
makes no sense. The ATF concluded it would be too dangerous for agents to arrest Weaver at his property. January of 91, ATF agents posed as broken-down motorists and arrested Weaver when he and Vicky stopped her. That's fucked up, dude. You can't do that.
That's crazy.
Weaver was told of the charges against him, released on bail, and told that his trial would begin on February 19th, 1991. January 22nd.
I mean, that would be weird to go anywhere, too. You got people hijacking you on the side of the road.
Right.
Jeez. And they want me to go to court. Wow.
Exactly. January 22nd, the judge in the case appointed attorney Everett Hoffmeister as Weaver's legal representative. Same day, Weaver called probation officer Carl Richens and told him that he had been instructed to contact Richens on that date.
Okay.
Why probation officer?
I know, right?
Dude's not even on probation. It doesn't make no sense.
Well, he's out on bail, so it's kind of like probation.
Sure.
Richards did not have the case file at that time, so he asked Weaver to leave his contact info and said he would contact him when he received the paperwork. According to Richards, Weaver did not give him a telephone number. Why would he not? Hoffmeister sent Weaver letters on January 19th, 31st, and February 5th, asking Weaver to contact him to work on his defense within the federal court system. February 5th, the trial date was changed from February 19th to the 20th to give participants more travel time following a federal holiday.
Washington's B-Day?
Or Lincoln's. one of the two.
Lincoln's, right? Washington's like the 22nd or something. The court, or it's President's Day, obviously. The court clerk sent the parties a letter informing them of the date change, but the notice was not sent directly to Weaver, only to Hoffmeister. Why? February 7th, Richards sent Weaver a letter indicating that he had the case file and needed to talk with him. This letter erroneously said that Weaver's trial date was March 20th.
Oh, no.
February 8th, Hoffmeister again attempted to contact Weaver by letter informing him that the trial was to begin on February 20th and that Weaver needed to contact him immediately. Hoffmeister also made several calls to individuals who knew Weaver, asking them to have him call him. Hoffmeister told U.S. District Court Judge Harold Lyman Ryan that he had been unable to reach Weaver before the scheduled court date. So if you can't reach him, then the trial should be postponed again, at least another week.
All right. And if he's not getting no letters or anything, you can't count anything in the mail as getting.
Exactly.
It has to be served. That's why they got those
Personally,
people.
right.
When Weaver did not appear.
You've been served.
Frank Weaver? Yeah. Who needs to know? Nobody. You've been served. When Weaver did not appear in court on the 20th of February, Ryan issued a bench warrant for failure to appear in court. February 26th, Ken Keller, a reporter for the...
Of course he's a reporter. That's reporter Ken Keller on the scene.
Right. A reporter from Kootenai Valley Times telephoned the United States Probation Office and asked whether Weaver did not show in court on February 20th because the letter Richin sent him had an inaccurate date.
Why would he know that?
Right. Upon finding a copy of the letter, the chief probation officer, Terrence Hummel, contacted Ryan's clerk and informed them of the incorrect date in the letter.
Okay.
Like, this dude's cool, man.
So everything should be corrected then, right? Well, okay, well, we'll see. Hummel also contacted U.S. Marshals and Weaver's attorney, informing them both of the error. Judge Ryan, however, refused to withdraw the bench warrant. What a dick.
Wow.
The Marshals agreed to put off executing the warrant until after March 20th in order to see whether Weaver would show up in court on that day. If he were to show up, the Department of Justice claimed that all indications are that the warrant should have been or would have been dropped.
Right.
But instead,
he showed up at the court.
Right. Instead, the U.S. Attorney's Office called a grand jury on March 14th. The Attorney's Office did not inform the grand juries of Richin's letter, and the grand jury is an indictment for failure to appear.
Oh, no.
This is so messed up, dude.
Dang, dude.
And they all know about it. I don't understand.
They got it. They just want to indict somebody.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Indicted.
When the Weaver case passed from the ATF to the USMS, no one informed the marshals that the ATF had attempted to solicit Weaver as an informant. Corey, why would you? As law enforcement arm of the federal court, the marshals were responsible to arrest and bring in Weaver, now considered a fugitive.
Oh, isn't there a movie with Tommy Lee Jones or something?
U.S. Marshal, right?
I think The Fugitive too, right?
That's Greer.
Who?
Richard Greer. Isn't
No, The Fugitive, isn't it with Robert Downey Jr. and they're chasing somebody?
Might be.
Harrison Ford or some shit?
The Pelican Brief.
No.
Weaver simply stayed in his remote home, threatening to resist any attempt to take him by force.
Ain't nobody going up to his property, that's for sure.
Weaver was known to have an intense distrust of the United States.
Well, I wonder why. Well, everything they just displayed over the last 3 paragraphs.
Yeah, well, I think you would be a little bit,
A little distrustful.
right.
The erroneous Richins letter is believed to have compounded this sentiment and may have contributed to Weaver's reluctance to appear for trial. You think? He was suspicious of what he thought were inconsistent messages from the government and his lawyer, and he began to think there was a conspiracy against him.
Okay.
Weaver then claimed to believe that he would not receive a fair trial if he were to appear in court. His distrust grew even further when Hoffmeister erroneously told him, a lot of erroneous,
Right.
told him that if he lost the trial, he would lose his land, essentially leaving Vicky homeless, and that the government would take away his children. Why would his lawyer tell him that?
Why would he lose his land?
Right.
That's ridiculous.
Holy shit, this whole thing is just...
They had it out for this guy. What was
Apparently.
he as a Green Beret? What did he do?
Right.
What does he know?
What does he know? Yeah. What high-level target did he take out that they don't want him, nobody to know, you know?
The U.S. Marshals officers made a series of attempts to have Weaver surrender peacefully, but he refused to leave his cabin.
Yeah, I would.
Weaver negotiated with the United States Marshals Ron Evans, W. Warren Mays, and David Hunt through third parties from March 5th to October 12th.
I wouldn't negotiate with anybody that has a single initial as their first name. It's not Civil War, dude.
Right. When Assistant U.S. Attorney Ron Howen directed that the negotiations cease. He's like, October 12th, been doing this since March.
Right. I mean, yeah, that is a long time to be negotiating. Like, you guys got to wrap this shit up. Let's do something here. We're going to charge him. He's going to come in.
Well,
What's happening?
Well, the U.S. Attorney directed that all negotiations go through Hoffmeister, but Weaver refused to talk with him.
Why? Well, yeah, of course.
Marshals began preparing plans to capture Weaver to stand trial on the weapons charges and his failure to appear at the correct trial date. How many years would he got for this? There was a sawed-off shotgun. You can't get too many, right? They make an example of him and give him life.
For a sawed-off shotgun. Jeez. Maybe. Although Marshall stopped the negotiations as ordered, they made other contact. March 4th, 1992, U.S. Marshals Ron Evans and Jack Clough drove to the Weaver property and spoke with Weaver, posing as real estate prospects.
Well,
Wait, he had already had contact with these guys, so how does he not know?
Why didn't he just grab them?
Right. At a March 27th, 1992 meeting at the Marshall's headquarters, Art Roderick codenamed the operation Northern Exposure.
Uh-oh.
They always have to have such stupid names.
Right.
Surveillance teams were dispatched and cameras set up to record activity at Weaver's residence. Marshals observed that Weaver and his family responded to vehicles and other visitors by taking up armed positions around the cabin until the visitors were recognized. Hell yeah.
Wouldn't you not?
Hell yeah. Look what you guys are doing, man.
You guys are being the most secretive mother foes in the world. You guys send people there as undercover freaking real estate
agents. Like, what the hell?
Man. Beginning in February 1991, the U.S. Marshals developed a threat source profile on Weaver. Agents' failure to integrate new information into that profile was criticized in a 1995 report by a subcommittee of the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Yeah, so they initiated it and didn't get anything new than what they already had. So stupid.
They said the subcommittee is concerned that as marshals investigating the Weaver case learned facts that contradicted information they previously had been provided. They did not adequately integrate their updated knowledge into their overall assessment of who Randy Weaver was or what threat he may pose. Oh my. Dude. Are you serious?
If the marshals made any attempt to assess the credibility of the various people who gave them information about Weaver, they never recorded their assessments. Thus, rather than maintaining the threat source profile as a living document, the marshals added new reports to an ever-expanding file, and their overall assessment never really changed. These problems rendered it difficult for other law enforcement officials to assess the Weaver case accurately without the benefit of first-hand briefings from persons who had continued involvement with him.
Right. This is just ridiculous. What the hell is going on here? Terrible handling. Wow.
I don't remember if anybody from these agencies get charged at the end of this, but already before any of all the other bullshit that's about to happens, then just from what we just discussed, there's got to be some heads got to rolling in these organizations, dude.
I mean, the marshals used to be creditable.
Well,
Now they're looking dumb.
They were when Raylan Givens was on their team.
FBI always has been douchey, and obviously the ATF is just...
you don't trust those guys either.
Right. Jeez, OP. The subcommittee said that the profile included many of the people of the marshals used as a third-party go-betweens on the Weaver case. Bill and Judy Grider, Ellen Jepson, and Richard Butler were assessed by the marshals as more radical than the Weavers. Oh, shit. When Deputy U.S. Marshal Dave Hunt asked Grider, why shouldn't I just go up there and talk to him? Grider replied, let me put it this way. If I was sitting on my property and somebody with a gun comes to do me harm, then I'll probably shoot him.
And as would Weaver, apparently.
Right. Or any person, right? Guy comes in your thing with a gun.
Right. The subcommittee said that the profile included a brief psychological profile completed by a person who had conducted no first-hand interviews and was so unfamiliar with the case that he referred to Weaver as Mr. Randall throughout. Oh, my. A later memo circulated within the Justice Department opined that the assumptions of federal and some state and local law enforcement personnel about Weaver, that he was a Green Beret, that he would shoot on sight anyone who attempted to arrest him, that he had collected certain types of arms, that he had quote-unquote booby-trapped and tunneled his property, exaggerated the threat he posed. They had no evidence of him doing any of this.
None.
Jeez.
None
dude.
whatsoever.
Wow.
This is ridiculous.
And this fucking guy.
Following a flyover by a hired helicopter for Geraldo Rivera's Now It Can Be Told television show on April 18th.
The same guy that hyped up
he thought he was going to
Al
find
Capone's safe and opened it nothing, dude. He should have been off the air after that.
I wonder if he actually thought it was in there.
Well, they all did. It was live.
I know.
Nobody knew what was in it. And then they open it, and then the biggest botch in television history, dude.
Following a flyover by a hired helicopter for Geraldo Rivera. I hate that name.
I know.
His TV show was called Now It Can Be Told. On April 18th, 1992, the U.S. Marshals received media reports that Weaver had shot at the helicopter.
Media reports. Meanwhile, there's people in the helicopter that would know, so why didn't you ask them?
That day in Idaho, U.S. Marshals were installing surveillance cameras overlooking the Weaver property. The field report for April 18, 1992, followed by Marshal W. Warren Mays, reported seeing a helicopter near the Weaver property, but not that any shots were heard. In an interview with, you think if shots were heard, I'm like, what the hell?
Right.
In an interview with a Coeur d'Alene newspaper, what the hell is that?
Must be a city in Idaho, I'm assuming.
Weaver denied that anyone had fired at the helicopter. Of course.
I'm sure he didn't. When interviewed by the FBI, the helicopter pilot Richard Weiss said that Weaver had not fired on his helicopter. A later report afterwards said that the indictment of Weaver was presented to the grand jury. The prosecution had no evidence that no shots had been fired at the helicopter. So no shots. We know that.
Jeez,
Media reports that Weaver had fired on the Rivera helicopter became part of the justification later cited by U.S. Marshal Wayne Duke Smith and FBI commander, the hostage team commander, Richard Rogers, and drawing up the Ruby Ridge Rules of Engagement on August 21st and 22nd, 1992.
Wow.
So they're like, this dude shooting at helicopters, we gotta go in.
Wow.
Wow. All because, of course, some media wanted to exaggerate shit, and dude,
wow.
that's fucked.
This is all just garbage. Also, In spite of Weiss's repeated denials that shots had been fired at his helicopter, Howen charged that, as over Act 32 of the Weavers' conspiracy against the federal government, Randy, Vicky, and Harris fired 2 shots at the Rivera helicopter. Wow. How can you do that?
They do whatever they want, man.
Operation Northern Exposure was expended for 3 months due to the confirmation hearings for United States Marshals Service Director Henry E.
Oh, so now they're confirming this guy to be the director,
Right.
and who knows how corrupt this guy is now. Well, we're back at it August 21st, which is the first day, 1992. 6 marshals were sent to scout the area to determine suitable places away from the cabin to apprehend and arrest Weaver. At this point, I don't think this guy's coming off his property.
Right.
The marshals, dressed in military camouflage, were equipped with night vision goggles, because that's not going to provoke somebody that you think's got a cache of weapons.
Jeez, Pete.
Night vision goggles and M16 rifles. Director of the United States Marshal Art Roderick, Larry Cooper, and William F. Deegan formed the reconnaissance team, while David Hunt, Joseph Thomas, and Frank Norris formed an observation post team on the ridge north of the cabin.
At one point, Roderick threw 2 rocks at the Weaver cabin to test the dog's reaction. The action provoked the dogs. Weaver's friend Kevin Harris and Weaver's 14-year-old son Samuel emerged and followed the dog Striker to investigate. What you seeing, Striker? What is out there? Harris and the younger Weaver said that they were hoping the dog had noticed a game animal as the cabin was out of meat. The recon team, Roderick, Cooper, and Deegan, initially retreated through the woods in radio contact with the OP team, but later took up hidden defensive positions. These guys, oh shit. Oh.
Later, the OP team and the Weavers claimed the dogs were alerted to the recon team in the woods after the neighbors at the foot of the mountain started their pickup truck.
Uh-oh.
The recon team retreated through the woods to a Y junction in the trails 500 yards west of the cabin, out of sight of the cabin. Sammy and Harris followed Stryker on foot through the woods, while Randy, also on foot, took a separate logging trail. Vicky, Sarah, Rachel, and baby Elishaba remained at the cabin. The OP team were anxious at first, but then relaxed. Don't care.
All right, geez, OP. Randy encountered the marshals at the Y.
Oh.
Roderick claimed he have yelled, "Back off, U.S. Marshal," upon sighting Weaver and Cooper. Oh, and Cooper said he had shouted, "Stop, U.S. Marshal." By their account, Sammy and Stryker came out of the woods about a minute later. When the marshal's position was revealed by the dog Stryker, a yellow Labrador, Roderick
boy.
shot
That's
the
a good
dog
boy. Oh,
dead,
no.
murdered him.
Jeez.
They were just waiting to do something.
They had to get those first shots off, dude.
Wow.
Well, seeing this, Sammy Weaver reacted by shooting in the direction of Roderick. Marshal Cooper then shot towards Sammy Weaver and Kevin Harris, who both sought cover. Harris, once finding cover behind a tree stump, then returned fire with one unaimed shot, which eventually killed Marshal William Francis Deegan.
Wow.
Sammy Weaver, now retreating up a hill, was then shot in the back and killed by Marshal Cooper.
Just a 14-year-old kid.
Just a 14-year-old kid.
These guys are morons. A later ballistics report showed that 19 rounds were fired
after they
fight.
provoked the dog by throwing rocks at him. I mean, come on, man.
Right. They said 19 rounds were fired during this fight. Roderick fired 1 shot from a M16A1, which killed Stryker, the dog, by entering in his body 2 inches from the dog's anus and exiting his chest.
Holy crap.
He shot him in the ass.
Shot me in the ass.
Then Sammy fired 3 from a 223 Ruger Mini 14 at Roderick. Deegan fired 7 from his M16 at Harrison Weaver while moving at least 21 feet. And Cooper fired 6 from a 9mm Colt submachine gun at Harris and Weaver. Harris then fired 2 from a 30-06, striking and killing Deegan. After the federal agents began firing, Sammy was killed by a shot to the back while retreating. Harris fired 1 unaimed shot and killed Deegan.
Right. Unaimed. Just taking cover, probably pointing his gun out, shooting. Meanwhile, it doesn't already look good. You shot a 14-year-old in the back.
Oh, my goodness.
The origin of the shot that killed Sammy was of critical concern in all investigations. I bet it was.
Right.
At the time of the writing of the Ruby Ridge Report, which was in 1996, the U.S. Senate Subcommittee on Terrorism, Technology, and Government, anything that has Senate or government, anything like that, it was chaired by Senator Arlen Specter. Well, that dude's a piece of shit.
Right.
Observed that the government's, I don't even know him, the government's position at trial was that Cooper had fired the shot. The subcommittee engaged additional experts and ultimately declined to draw a final conclusion
because they didn't want to
exactly who did
They
it.
didn't want to blame it on one person. It's like a firing squad. Nobody knows who got the bullet.
That's sad.
Wow. The Justice Department.
But trust me, even firing squads, they know who hit them.
Right. The Justice Department's Ruby Ridge Task Force report to the Office of Professional Responsibility states,
Jeez.
The evidence suggests but does not establish that the shot that killed Sammy Weaver was fired by Cooper. It was concluded there was no indication he intended to shoot Weaver.
Okay.
They're in a gunfight.
First of all, they're federal agents trained.
Right.
Only time you open fire is to kill.
Right. Reporter Jess Walter, in his work Ruby Ridge, The Truth and Tragedy of the Randy Weaver Family, it concludes that Cooper fired the bullet that killed Sammy Weaver.
Well, thanks.
Everybody knows all this.
For some author guy that we already know. 97, Boundary County Sheriff Greg Sprungle conducted an independent search of the Y, which was where all that stuff went down, and his investigator Lucian Haag discovered and confirmed that a bullet found in the search matched Marshall Cooper's 9mm Colt submachine gun and contained fibers that matched Sammy's shirt,
Obviously.
conclusively proving that Marshall Cooper shot 14-year-old Sammy Weaver in the back as he retreated. And it wasn't accidental. It was 100% on purpose.
Right. Jeez. Harris's and the federal agents' accounts differ as to who fired first.
Well, of course it does.
1993 trial over charges in Deegan's death. Prosecutors alleged that Harris had fired the first shot. Harris asserted self-defense and was acquitted. Nice. On cross-examination by the defense, ballistics experts called by the prosecution testified that the physical evidence contradicted neither the prosecution's nor the defense's theories of the gunfight. Wow. Martin Fackler testified that Roderick fired the shot or shots that killed Stryker, that Deegan fired the shot that hit Sammy in the right elbow, that Harris shot and killed Deegan, and that Cooper probably shot and killed Sammy.
Probably.
Most likely. Sammy got shot in the elbow, too?
I guess so. Acquitted, though. That was good.
Yeah, look at that.
Right, because Harris and Sammy didn't hear the two agents shout that they were U.S. Marshals.
Right.
Because they came out of the woods a minute after that, so they couldn't have heard it. Roderick and Cooper stated that Stryker preceded Harris and Sammy out of the woods. They said Deegan challenged Harris, who turned, shot, and fatally wounded Deegan before he could fire first. False. They said Roderick shot the dog once, Sammy fired twice at Roderick, and Roderick returned fire. Roderick and Cooper testified they heard multiple gunshots from the Weaver property, or party. Cooper testified that he had fired 2 3-shot bursts. So, boom, 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 at Harris, and saw Harris fall like a sack of potatoes. You think he said tatas or potatoes?
All right.
With leaves flying up in front of him, presumably from the impact of a round, or from his body falling lifeless into the damn stack of leaves.
Not Harris.
Oh, Harris. Okay. Oh, did he get shot?
Yes.
So either they're lying already, but whatever.
Well, Cooper sought cover. He testified that he saw Sammy run away and radioed OPT member Dave Hunt that he had wounded or killed Harris. As described by Randy and Sarah Weaver in their book, The Federal Siege, in 1998, Harris's version of events differed as follows. Harris told them Stryker was followed out of the woods by Sammy and Harris, and that the dog ran up to Cooper. He said the dog ran to Roderick, who shot in front of Sammy, and Sammy yelled, "You shot my dog, you son of a bitch!" and fired a shot at Roderick. Well,
at this point, neither of them know that they're agents. Let's have this be clear, okay? Right. Harris said that Deegan came out of the woods and shot Sammy in the arm, and Harris fired and hit Deegan in the chest. According to the Weavers, Harris said that Cooper fired at Harris, who ducked for cover, and Cooper fired again, hitting Sammy in the back, who fell. Harris fired about 6 feet in front of Cooper, forcing him to take cover. Only then did he hear Cooper identify himself as U.S. Marshal. Harris said he checked Sammy and found him dead and ran to the Weaver's cabin.
Jeez. After the firefight at the Y, Hunt and Thomas went to a neighbor's house to call for assistance from the Marshals Crisis Center. Norris, Cooper, and Roderick stayed with Deegan's body at the Y. Randy and Vicky went to the Y and retrieved Sammy's body. Randy, Vicky, and Harris placed the body in a guest cabin near the main cabin. From 11:15, so they had the guys there, and these guys come to collect their bodies.
Come to collect bodies, man.
We ain't done.
All right, we'll be back.
From 11:15 a.m. onward, Hunt reported to the Crisis Center in Washington, D.C. that no further gunfire was heard.
And this is August 21st. In the aftermath of the gunfight on that day at 11:20, Marshal Hunt requested immediate support from Idaho law enforcement. And he also alerted the FBI by notifying it that a marshal had been killed. The FBI is like, oh, yeah, I got some action now.
Yeah, boys.
Following Hunt's phone call, the Marshal Service Crisis Center was activated under the direction of Duke Smith, Associate Director for the operations. The Marshals Service Special Operations Group, which is SOG, was alerted to deploy.
Special ops, baby.
Yep.
In response to the marshal's call, the Boundary County Sheriff's Office mobilized.
Got everybody coming out now, man.
Also in response to the marshal's request, Idaho Governor Cecil Andrus declared a state of emergency in Boundary County,
Jeez, really?
allowing the use of Idaho National Guard Armory and Bonner's Ferry, and, after an initial delay, to use National Guard armored personnel carriers. Soon thereafter, the Idaho State Police arrived at the scene.
But not National Guard troops, though.
No.
That's there. You can go in and use our guns. You can use our transports, but you ain't gonna use us yet.
No, not yet, guys.
And the Idaho State. I'm surprised they weren't at the scene already.
All right.
FBI headquarters in D.C. responded by sending the hostage rescue team, known as the HRT, from Quantico to Idaho.
Okay.
Special agent in charge.
Is that a song?
I went from
movie?
Quantico to Idaho from Madam to do.
Is that like a
Quantico?
a John Wayne
It's like
movie?
no, it's
It's a
like
John Wayne movie.
I think you're thinking of Quantum Leap or something like that.
that's like
Special agent in charge, Eugene Glenn of the Salt Lake City FBI, was appointed site commander with responsibility for all active individuals from the FBI, ATF, and the marshals. He's taking over everybody. Then a standoff ensued for 11 days as several hundred federal agents surrounded the house. Jeez, and negotiations for a surrender were attempted.
So that his son was just laying there dead for 11 days.
11 days in the house, dude, rotting.
That's ridiculous. By Saturday, the 22nd of August, special rules of engagements were drafted and approved by the FBI headquarters and the Marshal Service for use on Ruby Ridge.
Rules of Engagement, is that like another movie?
It's a TV show, isn't it?
Well, that's a comedy, but I think there's a Rules of Engagement. Yeah.
Probably. According to the later RRTF report to the DOJ in 1994, the Ruby Ridge Row were as follows. Number one.
The Rules of Engagement, right?
Right. Number one, if any adult in the area around the cabin is observed with a weapon after the surrender announcement had been made, deadly force could and should be used to neutralize the individual.
But only after the surrender announcement.
Right.
Wait,
After the surrender.
after they tell him to surrender.
Right.
I get it.
Number
Okay.
two, if any adult male is observed with a weapon prior to the announcement, deadly force can and should be employed if the shot could be taken without endangering
Damn, so they're
any
saying even
children.
if you see somebody with a weapon before we announce the request to surrender, kill them. Jeez.
Number three, if compromised by any dog, the dog can be taken out.
We already took out the dog.
I had to put that in there.
I know. They were like, make sure we get that.
Number four, any subjects other than Randy Weaver, Vicky Weaver, Kevin Harris, presenting threat of death or grievous bodily harm, FBI rules of deadly force apply. Deadly force can be utilized to prevent the death or grievous bodily injury to oneself or that of another. So basically, Moida is on the table.
Any
boys.
subjects other than those three, though?
Other than a child.
No, other than Randy, Vicky, and Kevin.
Yeah, anybody. They're saying anybody.
But other than them.
Right. Right.
Right.
Anybody, basically.
Right.
Even them.
Right.
There's no children. There's no children, they say. That one gets...
Except for the one that already, the first death.
And what's about to happen, too.
The child didn't die, but...
It doesn't matter.
As noted in a footnote to the report in this crucial section, the rules of engagement was modified from adult to adult male in number 2 to exclude Vicky Weaver at around 2:30 or 3 p.m. after consultation with Eugene Glenn because Vicky Weaver was not seen at the site of Deegan's slaying. Right. The rules of engagement were communicated to the agents on site, including communication to HRT sniper/observers prior to deployment. Communications that included the change of adult to adult male to exclude Vicky. Some deployed FBI agents, in particular the snipers, would later describe the adopted rules of engagement as a green light to shoot on sight any fucking body.
Oh, my goodness.
Dude, such poor communication, dude.
No
I don't
communication.
understand
Just,
it
they
at
didn't.
all.
It doesn't matter anyway. They
They were just shooting to kill.
They're lying just to get here in the first place.
Right.
22nd of August, the second day of the siege, between 2:30 and 3:30 p.m., the FBI hostage team, sniper observer teams were briefed and deployed to the cabin on foot. According to the RRTF report to the DOJ, there were various views and interpretations taken of these rules of engagements by members of the FBI SWAT teams in action at the Ruby Ridge site. Denver SWAT team leader Gregory Sexton described them as severe and inappropriate. They were. Good for you, Denver SWAT team leader Gregory Sexton.
2 members of the Denver SWAT team said they were strong and a departure from the standard deadly force policy, inappropriate, and of a sort one had never been given before.
Right.
The latter of these 2 members said that the other SWAT team members were taken aback by the rules and that most of them clung to the FBI standard deadly force policy. Yeah, they're like, we're not doing this.
Right.
Another team member responded to the briefing on the rules of engagement with, "You've got to be kidding.
You got to be kidding me. What's going on? What do they have on this guy?
Right.
What did he do?
Why are they so eager to take this dude out like this?
Right. What does he know? Most of the FBI hostage and sniper observers team accepted the rules of engagement as modifying the deadly force policy. According to later interviews, hostage sniper Dale Monroe saw the rules of engagement as a green light to shoot armed adults, males on sight.
Males, though.
Yeah. And hostage sniper Edward Wenger believed that if he observed armed adults, he could use deadly force. But he was to follow standard deadly force policy for all other individuals. He said adult that time.
Any adult, right.
Fred Lansley, the FBI hostage negotiator at Ruby Ridge, was surprised and shocked at the rules of engagements. The most severe rules he had heard in more than 300 hostage situations. He later characterized the rules of engagements as being inconsistent with standard policy. The 1996 Senate report criticized rules of engagement as virtual shoot-on-sight orders.
Seriously.
Well, they all allowed it to happen.
What are they? High-level Al-Qaeda operatives or what the hell?
Yeah, they can criticize it afterwards, but let it happen when it did.
Before negotiators arrived at the cabin, FBI sniper Lon Harachi, from a position of over 200 yards north and above the Weaver cabin, shot and wounded Randy Weaver in the back with the bullet exiting his right armpit while he was lifting the latch on the shed to visit the body of his dead son.
Oh, jeez.
The sniper testified later at the trial that he put his crosshairs on Weaver's spine, but Weaver moved at the last second, so he was going to kill him. As Weaver, his 16-year-old daughter Sarah, and Harris ran back toward the house, Harachi fired a second bullet, wounding Harris in the chest.
Jeez.
This bullet killed Vicky Weaver, who was standing behind the door in the cabin where Harris entered. Vicky was holding the Weaver's 10-month-old baby, Aleshia.
Yeah. Idiots.
I always thought that they saw her in a window and shot her.
Right.
I guess not, huh? But still, wow.
Or she was standing in the doorway. I knew that.
Or something, right, yeah.
Jeez, oh, Pete. The RRTF report to the Department of Justice Office of Professional Responsibility of June 1994 stated unequivocally in conclusion that the rules that allowed the second shot to have been made did not satisfy constitutional standards for legal use of deadly force. The 1996 report of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. Jeez, oh, Pete.
It's also a committee, but a subcommittee at the same time.
1996 report of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee Subcommittee on Terrorism, Technology, and Government Information. Jeez, oh, frickin' Pete. You guys just like having a bunch of names. Anyway, Arlen Specter is the chair, concurred with Senator Dianne Feinstein, saying, yeah, this is ridiculous.
No, she dissented. She said, no, that was absolutely...
Well, she said it was good?
Yeah, she's like, no, that was good. She's a Democrat, and the Specter's a Republican, so...
All right.
Both pieces of shit, but...
The RRTF report said that the lack of a request by the marshals to the Weavers to surrender was inexcusable. I know. Jeez. Harris and the 2 Weavers were not believed to be imminent threat.
Right, why would they be?
Right, since they were being reported as running for cover without returning fire. Jeez. No call out, no nothing.
Dude.
They should have a helicopter come in and be like,
shine a light or something.
Right,
be like,
oh, freaking Pete, man.
The later Justice Task Force criticized Harachi for firing through the door when he did not know if anyone was on the other side of it. While there is a dispute as to who approved the rules of engagement which Harachi followed, the task force condemned the rules of engagement that allowed shots to be fired with without a request for surrender.
Right.
So they're just shoot. Yeah, they haven't even requested anybody to surrender yet.
The dude's sniping the dad, going to look at his dead son, and he's getting sniped in the back.
That is just sad.
That's ridiculous. Jeez, oh, Pete. The FBI's headquarters and the site commanders in Idaho both reevaluated the situation based on information about what had happened on the 21st of August, which they were receiving from U.S. Marshals Hunt, Cooper, and Roderick. On August 23rd, repeated attempts to negotiate with Weaver via a bullhorn failed. There was no response from the cabin. On about Monday, August 24th.
About Monday?
The 4th day of the siege. FBI Deputy Assistant Director Danny Colson, who did not know that Vicky had been killed, wrote a memo with the following content.
How does he not know?
Right. He wrote a memo. He said, something to consider. 1, charge against Weaver is bullshit.
Oh.
2, no one saw Weaver do any shooting. 3, Vicky has no charges against her. It doesn't matter. 4, Weaver's defense, he ran down the hill to see what the dog was barking at. Some guys in camouflage shot his dog, started shooting at him, killed his son. Harris did the shooting. He is in a pretty strong legal position.
Of course he is.
Wow.
And he didn't even know what was just happening.
Right.
The standoff was ultimately resolved by civilian negotiators, including Bo Gritz, to whom Weaver agreed to speak. Through Gritz's mediation, Harris, who had earlier urged Weaver to end his suffering, surrendered on August 30th, which was a Sunday. He was removed via stretcher. He's shot.
All right.
And then he was flown by Air Force medical evacuation helicopter to Sacred Heart Medical Center in Spokane.
Okay.
Weaver allowed the removal of his wife's body, which Gritz oversaw. Yeah, the dude's like, dude, you're about to die. Your wife just died. Your kids died.
I'm surprised he just didn't go out blazing, dude.
Think of your daughter. And he's probably like, all this stuff. He's probably been seeing the news coverage and stuff, too. He's like, dude, you got this. Like, get out of here and fight this.
All right. Jeez, OP. The FBI hostage commander gave Gritz a deadline to get the remaining Weavers to surrender. And if they did not surrender on the day of the deadline, he said he would resolve the standoff by launching a tactical assault. That's ridiculous. Weaver and his daughter surrendered the next day. Both Harris and Weaver were arrested. Harris was in serious condition at Sacred Heart, but U.S. Marshals did not allow his parents to see him or talk by telephone until Monday evening after a federal court order was issued. Weaver's daughter were released to the custody of relatives. At least they did that. Jeez.
Federal officials considered charging Sarah, who was 16, as an adult. Weaver was transferred by military helicopter to airport at Sandpoint, and from there he was flown by Marshall's jet to Boise. There he was given a brief medical examination at St. Luke's Medical Center, and then he was held at the Ada County Jail and arraigned in federal court the following day, Tuesday, September 1st.
Ridiculous. Weaver and Harris were charged with a variety of offenses. Their trial in U.S. District Court in Boise began in April 1993 and was presided over Judge Lodge. Judge Edward Lodge, that is. Weaver's defense attorney, Gary Spence, rested his case in mid-June without calling any witnesses for the defense, instead seeking to convince the jury through cross-examination aimed at discrediting government evidence and witnesses. I mean, that should have been enough. Once they found out what exactly happened, it should have been over
Didn't need
with.
no defense witnesses,
Right.
dude.
Weaver was ultimately acquitted in July of all charges except missing his original court date and violating his bail conditions, which he deserved that, for which he was sentenced in October to 18 months imprisonment.
Yeah,
and
right.
fined
You know they gave
$10,000.
him 18 months just to do it.
They're like, we're going to give him the maximum on this one. Right. See, all that, he would only got 8 months, 6 months in jail if he would just turn himself in the beginning. And instead, he ended up getting his dog, his son, and his wife murdered.
Right. I mean, jeez. Credited with time served and good behavior, he was sentenced to less than 16 months, or he served less than 16 months and was released from the Canyon County Jail in Caldwell in mid-December. Harris was defended by attorney David Nevin and was acquitted of all charges.
Of course he was.
Exactly 5 years after the incident. He was indicted, exactly 5 years later, or after the incident, he was indicted by Boundary County prosecutor Denise Woodbury for the first-degree murder of Marshal Bill Deegan. But the charge was dismissed in early October on the grounds of double jeopardy. Right, you can't charge him twice.
Why are they still trying to go after the guy?
Right, because he had been acquitted in the federal criminal trial on the same charge in '93.
What?
You can't do double jeopardy. Are these people who runs this stuff?
And then what are they trying to even mess with it? These dudes got acquitted of all the charges that they were trying to charge him with.
Right.
They did a whole sneaky spy campaign on the dudes, killed his son and wife, killed their dog. These guys got off in court, and now they're trying to put the same charges on them locally.
Why would they? What kind of district attorney or attorney general would approve those charges? Anyways, they would know. Like, hey, wait, didn't he just get acquitted for this same thing? We can't do that.
Right.
Holy
my
shit.
This is just sad news. This is just stupid.
Holy moly, dude. Defense counsels for Weaver and Harris alleged throughout their 93 trial that agents of the ATF, the Marshals, and FBI were themselves guilty of serious wrongdoing. No shit. The Department of Justice created the Ruby Ridge Task Force to investigate the events. It delivered a 542-page report on June 10th of 94. This report, which was originally available in a highly redacted form, because they always are, eventually became available in a more complete form later on down the line. Questions persisted about Ruby Ridge and the subsequent Waco siege, which involved the same agencies and many of the same officials too, dude. The Senate Subcommittee on Terrorism, Technology, and Government Information held 14 days of hearings on both of these incidents and allegations of misconduct, which ended in October.
How did they even allow these guys to head these missions?
Idiots. There was 14 days of hearings on these incidents and allegations of misconduct, which ended October 19th, 1995. The hearings were televised by C-SPAN, but October 1995, O.J. Simpson's trial is going on at the same time, so nobody gave a shit about any of these, probably.
Also, the train guys trial.
Right. Both the internal 94 Ruby Ridge Task Force report and the public 1995 Senate subcommittee report criticized the rules of engagement as unconstitutional. Because of fucking course it was.
Oh, geez, OP, but nothing will ever become of it. Did Weaver get compensated? 1995, GAO investigation was conducted on policies regarding use of force by federal law enforcement agencies. Its report said, in October 1995, Treasury and Justice adopted use of the deadly force policies to standardize the various policies their component agencies had adopted over the years. The major change was that agencies required a law enforcement agent to have reasonable belief of an imminent danger of death or serious physical injury in order to use deadly force, which opening a freaking storm cellar to check on your 14-year-old son's body is not imminent danger.
Or running away to a building with your back turned to people is not imminent danger. But the sad thing is, this is after Ruby Ridge and Waco, and just got implemented in October of 95. Like, come on, dude. It took you 4 years after the original thing?
Stupidity.
This brought all federal law enforcement agency deadly force policies in line with the U.S. Supreme Court rulings, which was Tennessee versus Garner. That happened in 1985, and Graham versus Connor in 1989, which applied to state and local law enforcement agencies. In 97, Michael Cahoe, the chief of the FBI Violent Crime Section, pled guilty to obstruction of justice for destroying a report critical of the agency's role at Ruby Ridge. He was sentenced to 18 months and a $4,000 fine. So this dude,
what happened because of your fricked up.
This dude, wow. Somebody said, your FBI, it's the FBI, of course. Your FBI did some wrongdoing here, but he's like, no, that letter's never seen the light of day.
Jeez, OP, this is ridiculous. Randy Weaver and his daughters filed a wrongful death suit for $200 million, which they should have won, which was related to the killing of his wife and son. In an out-of-court settlement in 1995 of August, the federal government awarded Randy Weaver $100,000.
Oh, my.
It also awarded $1 million to each of his 3 daughters.
Well, good for them, I guess.
He had 3 more daughters.
Well, he had the 2 that were there. I don't know about the third one.
The government did not admit that it had committed any wrongdoing in the deaths of Sammy and Vicky.
That's so fucked. He took the settlement, too, and was like, the settlement agreed that they didn't have to admit to any wrongdoing. I would have thought out more. I'm like, no, you're admitting to this, dude.
Like, no, I had for $200 million, you're going to give me $100,000 and then $1 million to the kids, and then you're going to tax them?
Right. So they
Tax
got
that mill?
$700,000.
Jeez.
On the condition of anonymity, anonymity. On the condition of anonymity. On the condition of being kept anonymous, a DOJ official told the Washington Post that he believed the Weavers would have probably won the full amount if the case had gone to trial.
They
That's
would
what I
have.
just said. The attorney for Harris pressed Harris's civil suit for damages, although federal officials vowed that they would never pay someone who would kill a U.S. Marshal. That's probably true. But, however,
It's not true.
September of 2000, Harris was awarded a $380,000 settlement by the government. Dude.
This dude got
How
300.
did he get 380 in there? Weaver got 100.
100,000, right?
And
he
two of his people were killed.
and he did nothing.
That's sad, dude.
He didn't shoot at nobody, did he?
Not during the siege. Not ever, I don't think.
Right. Get the hell out of
That's
here.
sad.
1997, Boundary County prosecutor Denise Woodbury indicted FBI hostage sniper Lon Hirochi for manslaughter on state charges, which she should have. just before the statute of limitations for his crime expired.
Good. 5 years. Should be more than that.
She appointed a special prosecutor to conduct the case, but in 1998, trials were moved to federal court because Hiroshi had been acting in the line of duty as a federal law enforcement officer.
Oh, so you know what happens when it goes to federal court.
Judge
Look out for
Lodge
one of his own.
quickly dismissed the case on grounds of sovereign immunity.
That is sad, dude. Look at the corruption that is just happening here. My goodness.
Yep. Sovereign immunity. You're allowed to do whatever you want.
The decision to dismiss charges was reversed. 6-5 in a 2001 by a panel of the Ninth Circuit, which held that enough uncertainty about the facts of the case existed for Hiroshi to stand trial on state manslaughter charges.
Nice.
Okay. Boundary County prosecutor Brett Benson, who had defeated Woodbury in the May 2000 primary and won the election, decided to drop the case.
Oh, why? Jeez, OP. That's because the federal government was like, but you ain't picking up this case, bud.
He said he believed that it was unlikely the state could prove the criminal charges. And too much time had passed.
What?
9 years is too much time, apparently, and no criminal charges could be proved. Even though every single report, federal or otherwise, said that this guy. Oh my! What in the world is going on?
He also believed his decision would enable the process of healing in the county. Attorney Stephen Yagman, who had been appointed as a special prosecutor, said that they vehemently disagreed with this decision. He goes, I vehemently disagree with this decision. Vehemently. Nobody uses that word anymore. He suggested that the case could still be prosecuted if the Boundary County prosecutor later changed again. Could it, though? How many years you got it now?
I don't think there's no thing on murder, dude.
Right.
Randy Weaver and his daughter Sarah wrote The Federal Siege at Ruby Ridge in 1998 about the incident, what was published in paperback. The Weaver family, he got paid buku bucks for that, though, I bet. The Weaver family, including Randy, later moved to Kalispell, Montana. Sarah and the other two Weaver daughters are employed there. Good for them. After becoming a born-again Christian, Sarah Weaver said in 2012 that she had forgiven the federal agents who killed her mother and brother. Randy. He just did, too. Randy Weaver died on May 11, 2022 at the age of 74.
Look at that.
Wow.
Still young.
Yeah.
American domestic terrorists Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols claimed that the revenge for the federal government's poor handling of Ruby Ridge and the Waco siege was their motivation for the Oklahoma City bombing, which we have in the OKZ bombing. There's like 4 episodes of that.
There's like 2 episodes of that, 3 episodes, I think. But yeah, go back and listen to those ones.
Great stuff. On April 19th, 1995, the second anniversary of the fire that ended the Waco siege, they detonated a massive truck bomb in front of the... We know that.
Yeah, we know.
Right. So that's what Timothy McVeigh said. A CBS miniseries about the Ruby Ridge incident titled Ruby Ridge, an American Tragedy, aired on May 19th and the 21st in 1996. It was based on the book Every Knee Shall Bow by reporter Jess Walter. And reporters have awesome names.
This is Jess Walter coming live from the scene.
Reporting from CBS, Jess Walter. It starred Laura Dern as Vicky, Kirsten Dunst as Sarah, and Randy Quaid as Randy.
Oh, hey, what? That sounds like a damn good movie.
It makes sense that Randy Quaid is the...
Right. After, they didn't know about it then, but yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen this movie.
Nope. That's a television series.
All right.
Miniseries, but then it came a movie.
All right. Later that year, television series was adapted as full-length TV movie. It's called The Siege at Ruby Ridge. In 1999, bluegrass musician Peter Rowan addressed the events at Ruby Ridge in his song, The Ballad of Ruby Ridge.
Nobody will ever hear. Ruby Ridge was the subject of a Criminal Minds Season 3 episode entitled Identity. Agent David Rossi said that he was at Ruby Ridge during the siege. Oh, you dirty bitch. In 2017 was the focus of the 23rd episode of American Experience, the 5th episode of its 29th season. Cool. The standoff, including the shooting of Vicky Weaver, is featured in the first episode of the Paramount Network television miniseries Waco.
I didn't even watch Waco either.
Yeah, I heard it was good.
Gee, of course.
Oh, no, I watched like an episode. It was good.
Jeez, OP. Tara Westover, in her memoir, Educated, 2018, referred to this incident, noting her own family's preparations to defend their isolated home against a potential siege by the feds. See, everybody was worried about the feds, man. They had this. I wonder if Randy Weaver ever said anything, if he knows anything, got any information or something. Because you can't. Oh, that's from some freaking sawed-off shotguns. The Ruby Ridge incident was the subject of the first season of the narrative podcast series Slate Presents. The 4-episode season titled Standoff, What Happened at Ruby Ridge, ran as a standalone miniseries hosted by journalist Ruth Graham.
It was also featured in Outlaws and Gunslingers episode,
Whatever it was.
whatever this episode is,
Right.
on the Creative Control Network.
In 2020, the incident...
Trust me, that'll be added in about 10 years.
Right. In 2020, the incident was featured in a season of Fox Nation's Scandalous.
Good for them. As you guys could probably tell, this whole this whole thing was just holy shit.
Garbage.
I don't even know what to say about this.
Every freaking episode, the FBI just amazes me more and more of how incompetent and worthless they
not
are.
even incompetent, how corrupt. And
Yes.
just dirty they are.
Worthless.
Dude.
It's a worthless organization.
Shredding documents that are related to stuff.
Come on.
And making sure that the...
And then they do it again 3 months later at Waco.
6 months later, dude.
Oh, my goodness.
This is just...
But it's okay because everybody condemned it afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's okay because 20, 30 years later, we're looking at it like the FBI was in the wrong.
This should have never happened. Get the hell out of
dude.
here.
Sad.
Jeez,
what a
Pete.
horrible episode of these.
Terrible. Ridiculous.
I don't know.
All that shit and it could have been avoided.
We started this podcast to just highlight like random
Outlaws and
crimes,
Gunslingers.
outlaws, and gunslingers. But I think, I think under the layers of all that, what we've really been doing is highlighting the corruption
of the United States
mainly
government.
the FBI, but the government as a whole,
Jeez,
on all their
Pete.
agencies, dude. I mean, holy shit, there's some
Ridiculous.
crazy stuff.
Wow.
With that being said,
I mean, this guy doesn't matter anyway. Randy, even with his conspiracy believing or whatever, he should have just turned himself in for the damn gun charge.
he could have
Done his 6-7 months in jail, or he probably would have just got probation or something.
Right.
He's OP.
Unless there was something else,
I'm telling you, they had to be
something else buried in there that he knew and they knew.
Something else. That's why they were leaving stuff out of reports and not reporting stuff because something else was going on.
Something's going on there,
You're not a Green Beret and don't know nothing.
right? Especially during Nam.
Right. Get the hell
Shit
outta
happened
here.
there.
Right.
30 years anniversary, Ruby Ridge. You just heard it all, and wow, I don't know how the FBI can surprise us even more, but I'm sure we got Waco coming up, so that'll be happening, and we got another siege coming up. We
There's
got
one in Michigan, too.
yeah, there's a couple of them. Yeah, the FBI's trash.
Trash.
Garbage. Before we leave, a little reminder, make sure you guys go check out our other series, Battles of the American Civil War, where we just wrapped up the biggest and bloodiest battle of the war, which was the battle at Shiloh.
Ooh, we thought it was going to be a two-parter, but guess what, boys?
Yeah, we thought this was going to be a two-parter too.
Right.
But yeah, biggest and bloodiest. Lots of casualties there. By far the biggest of the war so far. And noted too that the highest ranking officer on any side of the army
Lost his life.
lost his life, and that was the highest ranking through the whole war. So,
yeah.
Johnston, unfortunately, well, I guess unfortunately, if you want to look at it in history things, but highest ranking officer killed in that battle as well. And
just because he fought for the Confederate doesn't mean he deserve to die.
Some would say, as you would hear in the episode, especially on the Confederate side, that was the beginning of the end of the war, even though it lasted another 2.5 years after that. But
the whole 1862 was the beginning of the end.
yeah, especially so
Garbage.
Battles of the American Civil War. Go check that out. And then this week in sports history, where we, as the title suggests, we look at the week of sports history, significant or insignificant, doesn't matter. We're covering it all right there. Just go to Bang Dang Network, type it in the old Google, and you'll see all of our other shows there as well. No time to promote all those, as we'll be here for another 20 minutes. We'll be back next week for, I don't know. We had the last 3 weeks all planned out, and then I think maybe we'll come back with maybe we could do the shooting of John Lennon or something like that. That's an interesting story. But
He's an outlaw, though. Well, I guess he's a gunslinger.
the gunslinger, he's an outlaw as well.
Right.
He was hunted.
Okay.
Well, he wasn't hunted. He was arrested almost immediately. But he's a gunslinger for sure.
Yeah, he swung a gun and shot somebody.
Robert Ray Chapman, or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Rudy Ray Chapman, Robert Ray Chapman, also
How come
obsessed.
there are always three names?
Right. Well, because that's how they do. He was also doing it for
Still got JFK and
what's her name?
good stuff. What?
What's the actress's name?
Marilyn Monroe?
No.
What?
What the hell was her name?
For what? What the hell are you talking about?
Jodie Foster.
Oh, for what?
So he did it so she could notice him.
Oh, Jodie.
Yeah, there's a whole thing with John Lennon murder. So maybe we'll do that next week. Either way, we got a lot of stuff to get to. Before I thought we were going to be on the mafia by now, but I just keep finding interest in stuff that we haven't even got to. And you know what? Wait for the mafia. Just put it that way.
We're not trying to quickly end a series.
Right. We'll be back next week for something. We are the Monthly Michiganders.
Bang dang.